Hey, it's Joe Parner here, and welcome to episode 109 of Insights, where today we're going to explore literally the 7 best qualities that I can think of what it makes or what it means to become an emotionally fit human being. You're going to find that these 7 qualities are going to be able to apply to whatever realm of emotional fitness applies to you, whether it's as a parent, whether it's as a leader of an organization, a leader of a team, self-leadership, coaching, training, facilitation, HR, anything that involves other human beings. Emotional fitness is everything. As we know, becoming emotionally fit and what it means to be emotionally fit is about transcending or transforming our relationship with uncertainty. And these 7 qualities I'm going to share with you today are practical strategies on how it is to navigate the inevitable uncertainties, pressures, stresses, spot fires, crisis points that show up, whether, as I said, in all those roles, whether you're a parent, leader of an organization, leader of a team, etc. All those wonderful roles that we play. And I know that based on my last 20 years of running a full-time coaching and training business, there have been many, many times where these 7 qualities, especially 18 or 19 years ago when I first started, these 7 qualities, if I had known them then, would have perhaps made me more effective in navigating the uncertainties that I faced at the time. So let's hope that you find these really, really useful and very practical and replicable. So what I mean by replicable, I know that you know what replicable means, but what I mean by replicability, say that fast 10 times, is that we're able to share these 7 qualities with the people that you care about, whether it's your son, your daughter, your team, whoever it might be. So just before we hop into these 7 qualities, please remember to turn on notifications and subscribe to this podcast, because what that means is you will receive automatic notification when the next episode comes out. And you'll also receive notification when we're running our next series of masterclasses in the realm of emotional fitness and also in the realm of extended DISC, the behavioral profiling side of what I offer as well. So, and we've got many of those free events coming up before the end of this year. As of the time of this recording, in the middle of 2025, between now and the next few months, we've certainly got a couple of brilliant free public events coming up online that I'm sure you'll enjoy. Well, you'll enjoy them if you resonate with this podcast, and trust you've been listening to some of the other episodes. All right, so let's hop in. I've got these 7 written down here on my little piece of notes here, my little paper, because I needed to remember these very, very clearly and cleanly for you, because I know that I can easily go into the rabbit hole of each of these 7 and get lost completely, or lost in a good way, and not have time to cover all 7. So let's have a look. The first one I want to share with you, and these aren't in order of importance. They're all important. In fact, you'll see that there's a relationship between these 7 qualities. So the first quality is this: work on the one thing that nobody can take away from you. And that one thing has to be your mindset. Work on the one thing that can't be taken away from you. Your mindset, our mindsets cannot be taken away from us. And when we work on something like mindset, which cannot be taken away from us, you'll become unstoppable. Unstoppable not in an ego sense, but unstoppable in the sense of achieving whatever it is you want to achieve as a parent, as a leader, as a coach, as a trainer, as a facilitator, whatever roles you find yourself playing personally, professionally in life. Nothing matters more. And I'm stating perhaps something that's reasonably obvious, but sometimes we need to hear the languaging and the framing of some of these ideas in a different way for it to land deeply in our neurology. In other words, to land in our own mindset. No one can take away your mindset. One of the things I love about the emotional fitness formula is that the emotional fitness formula is a series of complex thought systems made simple so we can navigate those pressures and uncertainties of life. And so when you continually work on your mindset, being aware of how it is that you're constructing the current perception of whatever situation that you're facing, by becoming aware that you and I are meaning-making machines, that everything that we are experiencing, from something mundane and everyday like watching a pedestrian cross the street, all the way through to watching our son or daughter taking their first steps, all the way through a pressure situation in the work environment where we must perform. Whatever it might be, the experience of that perception, because perception is all we have. And remember that nothing exists outside of our mind. Our mind is all we have, and no one can take it away from you. as long as that mindset is functional, resourceful, and is aligned to what you want and are wanting to experience more of in your life. So our perception, which is our mind, our perception and mind, I would like for you to think of the word perception and mind interchangeably, because perception is the only reality that we have. And perception is ultimately, of course, a projection of what's in our mind. And to have an understanding that how we feel about what it is that we're observing, witnessing, or perceiving is determined by us, is determined by the meaning that we are giving that situation. And we have complete choice in terms of what we can make something mean. We have complete choice in terms of what kind of attitude we want to bring to that situation. We have a complete choice in terms of whether we want to take the optimistic lens or the pessimistic lens. We have complete choice whether we choose to judge the crap out of something or to let go of judgment and just see things to the best of our ability simply as they are. There's all of these choices that we have. This actually ties into one of the other best qualities of an emotionally fit human being that we'll get to in a moment. So let me just repeat the first one. Work on the one thing that nobody can take away from you and you'll be unstoppable. And that one thing has to be your mindset, because everything in our lives is contained within our mindset. That's the first one. The second one, oh, I love this one. The second one is become reliable under pressure. Become reliable under pressure. I can tell you now, as a father of twin boys, and as of the current time of this recording, our twin boys are 17 years of age. And whenever I experience pressure of any kind, and a lot of my work is based at home. So sometimes I might be dealing with meetings on the Zoom call or whatever it might be, or I might be facing some kind of challenge, or someone's let me down, or someone's, helped me out, or whatever it might be. Whatever form of pressure I may experience, my sons are observing that. And how I behave under pressure is teaching them so much more than how I behave when everything is fine and normal and, like we're just at dinner having, at the dinner table just having dinner and we're just chatting away and there's nothing too extreme about that experience, other than the connection factor, of course, is that I'm not talking about those situations. I'm talking about when the pressure hits the proverbial fan. Be reliable. Be reliable when stress turns up, when the pressure dials up, when uncertainty is amplified, because that is when the most eyes will be on you as a leader, as a parent, as a coach, as a trainer. Oh my Lord, over the years as a trainer, there have been dozens and dozens, probably hundreds of times where I found myself under an incredible load of pressure to deliver quality, to deliver a transformative experience, to move a room. There's been all kinds of challenges, and that's a whole another conversation that I could spend a whole podcast on, which I won't here. But the point I want to make is, it's when you're under pressure that you need to be the most reliable as a leader, as an emotionally fit human being. As an emotionally fit human being, if we can't be reliable under pressure, then how are we going to be reliable when it really, really matters? Like, that's when it matters, is when the uncertainty torch is on us. When, as I said, the dial of the pressure arrow, or whatever you want to call it, the pressure gauge is up, that's when we need to be most reliable. Reliability in other circumstances that aren't as extreme, sure, it's important that we're reliable and stable and all that kind of stuff, but it doesn't matter as much as to when we're under pressure. How you navigate a family, a team, an environment, yourself, your clients, when the proverbial hits the fan, that's when it matters the most. So be reliable under pressure. I hope you love that one. That's, to me, is one of the key features of a mindset that is emotionally fit. The third one, which ties in quite beautifully to this second one. The third one is be your best. Be at your best when it counts the most. Look, the fact is that you and I aren't always at our best. There's no human being that exists who's at their best 24/7. There have been many times where I've been sitting on the couch watching some show and, all my neurology and brain is shut down. And I'm just sitting there just watching this show, right? And maybe in that moment, my son might ask me a question that matters to one of my sons might ask me a question that matters to him the most. And I'm thinking, gee, I need my coaching hat and all my neurology on to answer this question. But I don't, maybe. Maybe I just answer in a very sloppy way or in a very lazy way. I think it's really, really important to know when to be at our best. And to be at our best when it counts the most is really, really, really important. So to give you an example of this, many, many months ago, one of my sons was going through his first breakup with, and it was a long breakup with his first girlfriend. This breakup, took about a month or so for it to sort of be on, be off, be on, be off, and all of the challenges of him navigating that, completely unfamiliar territory for him. And there were times where I was in a vegetable state on the couch at night watching some show, and then he comes into the room and my wife might be with me and we're just vegging out, just laziness on the couch, which is fine, great, I think that's fine. I mean, not that I'm here to judge what's fine and what's not, but that's cool. And then he comes into the room and starts, he might have just come off a call with this girl, and he starts asking questions or sharing some frustrations. In that moment, it is important that as parents, as leaders, that we are the best that we can be, because it counts in that moment. In that moment, if we're not responding, if we're deflecting his question, or now is not the time to talk about this, let's talk about this tomorrow, or we're too tired to think about, if that's our energetic response to that moment, we have just taught him that what matters to you does not matter to us. In one of my podcast episodes a long time ago, I said we're continually teaching people how to treat us. And in the moments when being our best is when it counts the most, like when it really matters, it's in those moments that we are showing our team member, our son, our daughter, our client, that we can, yes, be reliable under pressure, that we can turn up to be the best that we can be when it matters. So when he came to us with this distress that he was showing on his face over this breakup, because he, at that point in time, he didn't know whether this was going to be the road to breaking up or the road to making up. He didn't know, and he was confused as to what he wanted and what she wanted. So we had to sit on the edge of the couch, put all of our attention on him, pause the program, turn the TV off, and put all of our energy onto him. Because in that moment, being our best mattered the most. Does that make sense? So if you can translate that situation into other parts of your life, it really, really matters immensely to be at your best when it counts the most. So when people need to depend on you in that moment, regardless of how tired or how busy or how distracted or how diffused your brain might be, in that moment, we need to show up and be at our best. Now, and the counter to that, of course, is that there's no human being that is at their best 24/7. Does that make sense? So we need to pick our mark. We need to know when we can turn everything off and not be at our best. And to me, those are the moments when we're not impacting other people. Hope that makes sense. Okay, the next one is this one. I love this one. This is number 4, I think we're up to. Water cannot rise above its own level. That's great, Joe. How does that translate into life and practicality and replicability? Well, water can't rise above its own level, just like you'll never rise above your own opinion of yourself. It's impossible to rise above the opinion of yourself. This is a beauty. This is important. Opinion is so subjective. Opinion comes from our interpretation of our own reputation that we have with ourselves. So there are many ways to describe or define what self-esteem is. And one of the ways to define self-esteem is that self-esteem is measured by the reputation that you have with yourself privately, not the reputation you have with yourself or that you share with other people. It's the inner world, private, real thoughts that you have and opinions that you have about yourself. And whatever opinions you and I have about ourselves, we cannot rise above them. It is impossible. It is just like water cannot rise above its own level. That's physics, that's science, that's fact. And psychologically, it's also a fact that it's impossible for you and I to rise above whatever opinion that we have of ourselves. So what matters the most here is to be aware of the inner world chatter, because all of us have got multiple voices and characters that exist within us. In ego state therapy, they say there are up to 15 different voices that exist in a fully functioning human being. When I learned this, I was so relieved because I thought, oh my God, so I'm not the only one that has all these different characters that play out. So in other words, the voices, the inner dialogue, whatever those voices are and what they're saying and how they're responding or reacting to other people's opinions or other situations that we're experiencing, be aware of the opinion that you carry with yourself. You know, the other thing that's fascinating about this is that we often will experience ourselves differently with different people, depending on our perception of who this person is, what they mean to us, what they can or cannot do to us. You know, there's a whole host of different things. That's a whole sort of road to another conversation completely. But be aware of the opinion that you see. So in other words, opinion of ourselves is like, how do you see yourself in these different circumstances? How you see yourself in these different circumstances is pretty much the opinion that you have of yourself, of what we have of ourselves. And we can't rise above that. We can't perform in excess of the opinion that we have of ourselves. We can't impact people above the opinion of ourselves. I know that as a trainer, especially in my first 5, 6, 7, 8 years, half my audiences used to frighten the proverbials out of me. Like, I used to be scared of my audiences when I first started as a trainer, my first 5 or 6 years. And the reason why I was scared was I was afraid that they might know more about my topic than I might know about my topic. My opinion of myself was at a very, I wouldn't say a very low level, but it was certainly a low level. So therefore, how I experienced myself, I could not rise above that. It wasn't until I started to make different decisions around how to view myself and how to give myself a bit of a break and how to acknowledge how far I'd come that my opinion of myself started to rise. And by this, I don't mean becoming arrogant and egotistical. I mean when you start to value, and this is very good, it's when you value your own thoughts as much as you value other people's thoughts. And when I started valuing my own thoughts about things as much as I valued my audience's thoughts about things, my opinion of myself rose. And as my opinion of myself rose, my impact and my skill set and my earning income ability, all these sort of things went up with it. Does that make sense? So when I first started, I valued the opinions of others much more than I valued my own opinions of myself and other things. Does that make sense? So one way to increase your opinion of yourself without going into the world of arrogance and egotistical world is to start seeing that your thoughts about certain things are just as valuable as other people's thoughts about that certain thing. Hope that's making sense. So that's the first 4. Number 5. This is a beauty as well. This is so pertinent as a leader of any kind, whether you're a parent or a leader of a team or an organization, or you're a coach leading clients or a trainer leading a room. Oh, you're going to love this one. People will follow your soul, not your goal. People will follow your soul, not your goal. In other words, people don't care about what your purpose and goal is as a coach, leader, parent. What they care about is your soul. And what I mean by that is, do you genuinely, so soul can be interpreted in many different ways, of course. What I mean by people will follow your soul rather than your goal, they'll follow your enthusiasm. They'll follow your caring nature. They'll follow your compassionate appreciation of them. They'll follow your love that you have for them. The best leaders care for their team as people as much as they care for them as employees or as experts in certain fields, or as much as they care about their skill set and what qualities that they can bring to an organization or to a team. They care about them as much as people. I still remember one of the highlights of a sporting team that I follow in the AFL, where this team won the premiership, the flag, the championship, whatever you want to call it, in 2023. And the coach showed after the season was complete, there's 44 players on the list of this team, and at any one time, only 22 can play. And he had all 44 names of the players in the alignment of his, what do you call it, the lining of one of his jackets. All 44 names. And he called them his 44 sons. He genuinely cared for them as people as much as he cared for them as football players. That speaks massively of his character, and I think that is phenomenal. And when you care for someone like that, you inspire through your soul, not your goal. He didn't say to them, our goal is to win the flag or win the premiership, and this is our goal, and it's all about goals, goals, goals. No, it's about show me your soul, and I'll decide whether I'm going to follow you or not. Does that make sense? Do you genuinely care for your craft? Do you genuinely care for your people? Does the parent genuinely care for their child? Of course, in most cases they do. Does the leader genuinely care? Does the coach genuinely care for their client? And if you have a combination of compassionate appreciation, gratitude and appreciation, of course, and you have an enthusiastic commitment to other people and their progress, they will follow that before they'll follow whatever your goal is. So I hope you love that one. And by the way, if you're watching this on YouTube, I would love to hear your comments about what you think of any of these 7 best qualities of an emotionally fit human being. So they'll follow your soul before they follow your goal. They'll follow, in other words, they'll follow who you are becoming rather than what you're doing. They'll follow you in terms of the qualities of your character rather than the level of your skill. Does that make sense? So important. So important. This is massive. Like, take this, reverse engineer any of these away from any kind of leadership position and watch it impact negatively your impact on people. So these are phenomenal qualities. So that's number 5. Number 6. Oh, this is a beauty as well. They're all beauties. This one here. Make your mind stronger than your emotions. Make your mind stronger than your emotions. I've trained and accredited in excess of 7,000 coaches out in the field. And in a lot of cases, the ones who seem to struggle or make it really difficult for themselves or don't make it to becoming a full-time coach is because their emotions are stronger than their mind. We need to make our mind stronger than our emotions. In other words, metaphorically, if I don't look after the garden out there, if we don't do anything, if my wife was listening to this, she'd be absolutely pissing herself because she's the one that does all the gardening, looking aftering, whilst I'm doing this kind of work. So let me be very clear. If my wife wasn't looking after the garden, it would just turn to weeds, wouldn't it? The default position of the garden is weeds, unless you put conscientious effort and physical effort and time and energy into, getting rid of the weeds and having the lawn and looking after the plants, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Our brain is exactly the same. If we don't consciously work on our mindset, this is circling back to that first point about, work on the one thing that no one can take away from you, and that's your mindset, is that by doing that, your mind will become stronger than your emotions. In other words, we won't become slaves or victims of how we're feeling about something. So many people fall victim to the emotions that they feel about something and allow that to dictate what they will do or not do. So make your mind stronger than your emotions. Another way of doing that is by placing more emphasis and focus on the outcome of what you're trying to do. Where are you heading? What's the purpose of this particular thing that you're doing? And is what you're doing heading you in the general direction of that goal? That's so, so important, so important. Hey, once again, if I can quickly remind you, if you haven't turned on notifications or subscribed to this podcast yet, please do, because that way you'll receive instant notifications when the next episode comes out. And equally as importantly, you'll receive notification as to when the next free public training is coming up in the realm of emotional fitness or behavioral profiling. We've got a couple of beauties coming up very, very soon later this year that I'm sure you'll want to be part of if you're loving and resonating, connecting with the messages on these podcasts. So let me just repeat that one. Make your mind, this is number 6, make your mind stronger than your emotions. This is a choice. It really is. And this links beautifully to the 7th bestest quality of an emotionally fit human being. The 7th one is choices, not chances, determine your destiny. Choices, not chances, determine your destiny. There is zero doubt that you and I are living right now the result of the accumulation of all of the choices that we have made or not made. And the more, and I've often said this in other episodes and in my trainings, where I say, well, life really is only a handful of courageous decisions or choices that we've made. Have you noticed that in life there are certain choices that matter immensely in terms of where you're going to be and who you're going to become versus other choices that might not matter that much? I'm not talking about micro choices here, the choices of what to eat tonight or choices of where to go to holiday or choices of, whatever, everyday stuff. I'm talking about macro choices, the choices to commit to your craft, the choice to be genuinely the best that you can be when it matters. The choice, all of these things that I've shared with you are choices, the choice to make your mind stronger than your emotions, the choice to be and become reliable under pressure. The choice of raising our opinion of ourselves, knowing that we cannot perform at any level above our opinion of ourselves, just like water cannot exceed its own level, its own height. These are all choices. The choices of what we decide to do for a living, the choices of what kind of coaching we want to do, the choice of what kind of industry we want to lead, the choices of what kind of parent we want to become. These are the choices that matter. And it's not chances that determine our destiny. So let me just repeat this last one. It's choices, not chances, that determine our destiny. So I hope that that makes sense, and that wraps up what I wanted to share with you today. And what I love is that these 7 qualities is what we dive into very deeply in different language and frameworks in the emotional fitness formula. I created the emotional fitness formula because I felt that there was a need for a series of frameworks and thought systems that will transform one's relationship with uncertainty. I think psychologically speaking, our relationship with uncertainty is the single most important relationship that we could possibly have outside of our relationship with people, because it's our attitude, meaning, embracement, connection with uncertainty that determines how well we grow, how fast we grow, how consistently we grow, because growth is everything. As I've shared also many times, is that we are either green and growing or ripe or rotting, as Ray Kroc said all those years ago. So my intention of sharing these 7 best qualities of an emotionally fit human being is so I can contribute, hopefully, to your growth, to mine, to our growth together, because that's what matters. So let me just do a quick summary of the 7 and then we'll wrap up. The first one was work on the one thing that no one can take away from you and you'll become unstoppable. And that one thing is your mindset. Number 2, be reliable under pressure. Oh my God, that matters so much. To also experience ourselves being the most reliable under pressure does wonders for your self-esteem and how you believe in yourself. Number 3, be at your best when it matters the most. Hugely important. Number 4, water can't rise above its own level. In other words, you'll never rise above your own opinion of yourself. So remember, we spoke about valuing your opinion of things as much as you value other people's opinions of things in terms of your thoughts around things. We spoke about that earlier. Number 5, people will follow your soul, not your goal. Oh my God, I think that's my favorite. Number 6, make your mind stronger than your emotions. Matters hugely. So many people just flail in the wind psychologically because they're victims to how they feel rather than how they can navigate with their mind. And the last one is choices, not chances. Choices, not chances, will determine your destiny. I'm going to add a sneaky bonus one here that I've just thought of, that I've read about before, and I love this. Opportunities don't shout, they whisper. So look out for those opportunities that are whispering to your soul that can influence the choices that you make so you can align to the destiny that you know that you deserve or the destiny that you know that you want. Anyway, I'm going to wrap up now. Thank you so much for tuning in. Episode 109. I really appreciate you being here. And once again, if you can turn on notifications and subscribe to this channel, to this podcast, so you can receive instant notifications. And also, as I said, equally as importantly, you'll get notifications of upcoming free public trainings and masterclasses in the realm of emotional fitness and behavioral profiling. I love this work. I hope you're loving and getting great value from what it is I'm sharing here. I really appreciate your time. This is a little bit longer than normal. Normally, I only go for about 20 minutes. We've gone for nearly 28, 29 minutes. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much, and I'll see you again very soon. Bye for now. I trust you enjoyed this latest episode of the Insights Podcast and received great value. Please remember to subscribe and share your reviews, and I'll see you again very soon.